There's a strange silence that follows relentless effort. You give your best. You work overtime. You sacrifice sleep, weekends, even parts of yourself you used to protect. But somehow nothing changes. No recognition, no reward, no breakthrough. And then comes the voice, sometimes from a parent, sometimes from a book, sometimes from within. Hard work always pays off. A phrase meant to comfort. But in those quiet, heavy moments, it starts to sound like a lie. Because what if you've done everything right yet, still find yourself stuck? What if effort isn't the only variable anymore? And deeper still, what if this belief is not just misleading, but quietly exhausting an entire generation? Maybe the problem isn't in the work, but in how we measure its worth. And maybe it's time to take a closer look at that promise we were all taught to believe. Let's begin with the belief itself. Why did it feel so true for so long? Why did our parents trust it like a law of nature? That's where we start, with the weight behind the words, hard work always pays off. Hard work always pays off. It's a phrase that wasn't just believed, it was lived, passed down through generations, etched into kitchen tables and factory floors. It became a guiding star for millions. For our parents and grandparents, hard work wasn't an abstract value. It was the only tool they had. Many of them grew up during or just after times of war, recession, or mass migration. In those days, survival came before self-fulfillment. And hard work, often manual, often repetitive, often invisible, was the path to a better life. They saw results. They started with little and built families, homes, and futures. Not because the world was fair, but because effort often tipped the scale just enough to keep them moving forward. Promotions might not have come easy, but consistency brought security. Diligence brought respect. Even if they didn't make it big, they made it work. For many immigrant families in particular, this belief became sacred. It was a way to reclaim dignity in unfamiliar systems. Parents told their children, study hard, work harder, you'll make it. It was both hope and pressure, but mostly, it was love disguised as strategy. In that world, the equation made sense. Effort, stability, respect. Not everyone became rich, but effort rarely went unnoticed. Communities valued perseverance. Employers rewarded loyalty. Even neighbors honored a work ethic. And to be fair, it wasn't all myth. The industrial economy had a logic. You put in the hours, and over time, you moved up. If you stayed in the same job long enough, you could retire with a pension. If you worked 2 jobs, you could save for a house. There were cracks in the system, of course, but there was also a sense that effort had a direction. In this context, hard work always pays off was not naive. It was true enough. It gave people purpose. It kept them from despair. It created structure in a world of uncertainty. So when that belief is passed on to the next generation, it doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from lived experience. From their lens, if you're not being rewarded, it must be because you haven't worked hard enough. Because in their lives, working hard was what saved them. But here's the tension. The world they knew isn't the world we live in anymore. The rules changed. The ladder is missing rungs. The economy is less predictable, more volatile. Degrees don't guarantee jobs. Loyalty doesn't guarantee promotion. Working 2 jobs today might just mean you're still behind on rent. The structure that once held up this belief has shifted, and for many young people, it feels like they're still being judged by a rule book that no longer applies. That doesn't make the belief wrong. It makes it outdated or at least incomplete. And yet, when things go wrong, the default response is still the same. Maybe you just need to work harder. As if burnout is a badge of honor. As if rest is weakness. As if the problem could never be the system, only the person. That's when the belief becomes dangerous. Because it turns effort into a moral judgment. And failure into personal shame. So what happens when a generation grows up absorbing this belief only to find it doesn't match their lived experience? What does it feel like to pour yourself into something and get nothing back? To follow all the rules only to realize the game has changed? That's what we'll explore next. The emotional fallout when hard work doesn't pay a fan, what it does to a young person's sense of worth. There's a quiet kind of heartbreak that comes not from failure but from doing everything right and still falling short. That's what many young people are facing today. They show up early, stay late, learn new skills, say yes to every opportunity, and still find themselves in stagnant jobs, unstable housing, or student debt they can't repay. They're not lazy. They're not entitled. They're exhausted. And underneath that exhaustion is confusion. Because they followed the script. They worked hard, just like they were told. But the promise of a payoff keeps slipping further away. What makes it harder is that no one seems to believe them. When they speak up, they're met with skepticism. You must not be trying hard enough. That's just how it is when you're young. You expect things too quickly. So they stop talking. They internalize the struggle. They push harder until their body pushes back. Burnout isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's a common state of being. Anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, these are the quiet epidemics among millennials and Gen Z. And one of the hidden drivers is this relentless, unspoken pressure to make hard work mean something even when the world refuses to reflect it back. Because when hard work doesn't pay off, it doesn't just hurt your career. It starts to erode your identity. You begin to ask questions you're afraid to answer. What if I'm not enough? What if no matter how much I try, I'll always be overlooked? What if this isn't temporary, but the shape of my whole life? Some people react with quiet despair. They keep showing up, but stop caring. Some become cynical, rejecting the system altogether. Others swing in the opposite direction, working harder, chasing validation, burning twice as fast. But beneath every reaction is the same wound, a deep disappointment that the world doesn't work the way they were told it would. And this disappointment isn't about money alone. It's about meaning. Hard work was supposed to lead somewhere, not just success, but pride, dignity, purpose. When that connection is lost, effort starts to feel empty. And that's what hurts the most. Not that you failed, but that your effort didn't matter. The tragedy isn't in laziness, it's in disillusionment. In watching friends with less effort but more luck leap ahead. In seeing systems reward charisma over competence, shortcuts over sacrifice. The world told them effort would be the difference. But now, many feel that privilege, timing, and visibility weigh heavier than grit. It creates a silent rebellion, not always loud or political, but personal. A quiet refusal to keep running toward a finish line that keeps moving. And yet, even in that rebellion, there's guilt. Because walking away from the old belief doesn't feel like liberation, it feels like failure. You're not just questioning a strategy, you're questioning your worth. So what do? Do you keep pushing, hoping one day the world will notice? Do you stop trying and risk falling behind even more? Or is there another way to live on that honors effort but redefines success. That's what we need to uncover next. Not just what went wrong, but what the old belief left out. Not a rejection of hard work, but a deeper understanding of what makes it worth it. Here's the truth that hurts more than failure. Hard work doesn't always pay off. At least, not in the way we were promised. And not for everyone. But here's the deeper truth that offers clarity. Instead of despair, hard work is not the cause of success. It's a component. And when it's missing alignment, awareness, or adaptability, it can become effort poured into a bottomless cup. That doesn't mean we stop trying. It means we start thinking differently. There are 3 invisible layers that shape whether effort leads to impact. 1. Direction. Hard work without direction is like running on a treadmill. It tires you out, but takes you nowhere. Many people grind day and night without stopping to ask, is this the right path for me? Or, is this effort aligned with what actually matters? Sometimes we confuse motion with progress. But not all effort is equal. Not all struggle is growth. Clarity about who you are, what you want, and where you're going is what turns effort into momentum. 2. Leverage. This is the part the old wisdom rarely talks about. In today's world, it's not just about how much you work, it's about how strategically you work. Leverage means using tools, networks, and timing to amplify results. You could be brilliant, but invisible. You could be consistent, but unheard. That's not a judgment, it's a systems reality. The world rewards visibility, timing, collaboration, even branding, not just diligence. It's not fair, but it's real. And pretending otherwise doesn't help, it just sets people up for disappointment. The smartest workers today aren't necessarily the most exhausted. They're the ones who learned where their effort creates the most value. Focus there. 3. Self-respect. This is the part most easily lost when hard work goes unnoticed. When we tie our worth to our output, any setback feels personal. But effort doesn't define your value. It expresses your intent, your care, your belief, your persistence. Whether or not the world applauds you, that intention deserves your own respect. Because not every payoff is external. Some efforts reshape your mindset. Some expand your resilience. Some teach you when to walk away. The payoff isn't always a raise or a trophy. Sometimes, it's the quiet confidence of knowing you honored your value 7 in a system that didn't see you. So, Noth belief hard work always pays off isn't completely true. But it's not completely false either. It's just missing context. Hard work is the soil, but without sunlight, water, and timing, the seed can't grow. And here's something no one tells you enough. You're allowed to reframe the story. You're allowed to shift from, I must earn my worth, to, my effort deserves wisdom. You're allowed to ask, not just, am I trying hard enough, but am I trying in the right place? Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to push harder, but to pause, step back, and realign. That doesn't mean giving up. It means giving yourself the best chance to grow. And that leads us somewhere important. How do we hold space for both truths? The dignity of effort and the reality of limitation? How do we honor what our parents believed while adapting to the world we now face? Let's explore that balance next. We don't have to throw the old belief away. Hard work always pays off. May not be universally true, but it carries something noble. It speaks to the dignity of effort, to the beauty of trying, even when no one is watching. to the simple, stubborn hope that what we give to the world will eventually come back in some form. That belief gave strength to our parents. It gave structure to their chaos. And in many ways, it still holds power when used with discernment. We can honor that wisdom without chaining ourselves to it. The balance is this: work hard, but not blindly. Persist, but with direction. Strive, but with self-awareness. It's okay to pause, to redirect, to say, this version of effort no longer serves me. That's not weakness. That's evolution. Because effort should not be about proving your worth. It should be about building a life that reflects it. This is the bridge between generations. We don't reject the past, we refine it. And perhaps that's the most respectful thing we can do, not just for ourselves, but for those who came before us. Now that we've softened the extremes and reclaimed balance, let's return to the core question one last time. What does it really mean to be rewarded for your effort? Not in theory, but in the real, messy, quiet reality of everyday life. Let's close with the truth that lingers long after the noise fades. Hard work always pays off. Maybe not in the way we once imagined, but in the way we choose to measure it now. Some efforts bring recognition. Others bring clarity. Some are rewarded with money or status. Others with self-respect and quiet growth. And sometimes, the greatest reward is simply knowing you didn't betray yourself. The truth-ice effort doesn't guarantee outcomes, but it does shape who we become. And if we learn to listen closely, to realign often, and to value not just what we do, but why we do it, then every step still matters, even the ones no one else sees. So no, you don't need to stop working hard. But you might need to stop working to earn your worth. You already have it. Let your effort be an act of alignment, not desperation. A reflection of who you are, not a currency for approval. In the next video, we'll gently examine another belief that sounds noble but might be quietly holding you back. You've heard it before, maybe even repeated it to yourself. But have you ever stopped to ask, is this still true for me? Until then, thank you for being here. If this message met you where you are, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with someone who's been trying so hard they've almost forgotten why. You're not alone, and you're not wrong for feeling tired. Your truth still matters, especially when you say it out loud.